So last week, 7.12, we talked about addition and subtraction, where we could add and subtract polynomials, these multi-terms, together. We talked about subtraction, where we can subtract them from each other. And what we're going to be talking about today, close the Chromebook, is multiplication. Now, there's a term that's normally used with this, especially with binomials, called FOIL. And FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. And it does work for binomials, when two binomials are being multiplied together, but outside of that, it doesn't work too well. So what we're going to do is when we multiply these, we're going to use our distributive property. We're going to multiply, starting off with these terms here. So the first term, this x, is going to be multiplied by both terms in the other parentheses. So when we start off, we're going to do x times x. And that, it wouldn't be 2x, because we have x times x, yes? So we'll get to it here in a minute. Then we're going to do x times 5. Well, they're both going to be positive, because positive times positive will give us a positive. And then we'd have 5 times x. So 5 times x would be 5x, yes? Okay, so we did that one, yes. Now we move on to the 2. So we're going to multiply both of the terms by 2. Now 2 and x are both positive, yes? So we're going to have plus. 2 times x is 2x. So any questions on this so far? And lastly, 2 times 5 is plus, because they're both positive. 2 times 5 would be? It is 10. Now, the thing is with this here, x times x, anything times itself is being squared. Because x times x is x squared. Because if we said 2 times 2, well, that would be 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Whenever we multiply a number by itself, or a term by itself, it is squared. So we have that. Now, is there any like terms, other like terms in our... Right, 5x and 2x. They both have x's, yes? So 5x plus 2x would be plus. Plus. And that's it. And that's what we'll be doing with this distributive property, or what we can call FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, because we multiply the first, x and x, outer, x and 5, inner, 2 and x, last, 2 and 5. I'm going to just rewrite this a little bit bigger. You don't have to. So we're going to be multiplying these here together. So I always start off with the first term in the first set of parentheses. I always start off with x. And multiply it through everything in the other parentheses. So x times x would be what? X times x, which is x squared. Because it's dealing with the property of exponents. Whenever the bases are the same, you add the exponents together. Well, in our first x, the exponent is 1, yes, because it's not written. In our other exponent, the exponent is 1 and 1 is 2. So we kind of add the exponents together. 1 plus 1 gives us 2. Because we're multiplying something by itself, yes? So if we multiply it by 2, So if we said 2x, yes? Give me a value for x. 2. So here we would say we would have 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 squared is 4, yes? So 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so that does work. Let's try 3. So we're wanting to see, is 2x the same as x times x, yes? So with 2 it works. Let's try 3. 2 times 3, is it the same as 3 times? Well, 2 times 3 is? 3 times 3 is 9. So that's where it's different. So 2 it worked out because, well, 2 and 2 is the same. So here I have x times x, yes? So x times x is the same as 3 times, which is. Now when I square something, I'm saying I'm taking whatever that number is and multiplying it by itself. So it works out that whenever we talk about this here, because 3 times 3 is the same as 3 squared. So whenever we multiply a number by itself, it's the same as squaring it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's also dealing with the properties of the exponents. One of the properties of exponents states that x to the m times x to the n, where the bases are the same, is equal to the x to the m plus n, where we can add the exponents together, as long as the bases are the same. So 1 and 1 give us 3. Does that kind of answer that? Now we can look at the next one, x times negative 4. Well, we have a positive times a, which would make this be a negative. Well, x times 4, or 4 times x is negative 4x. So it's likely with the x and the 4, I mean, whatever the numbers are, we will multiply them together. We'll get into a case where we can do that. But for these here, it's just 4x. We just multiply them together. Questions on this here? Well, that took care of that. Now we can move on to the other two. So we're going to do 3 times x. Well, this would be plus 3x because they're both positive. It's going to be plus 3x. And lastly, 3 times negative 4. Positive times a negative is going to be a negative. And 3 times 4 would give us 12. What? Any questions on this here? Now we do have like terms, don't we? Because these here in the middle are like terms. So the x squared would stay the same. But negative 4x plus 3. Well, negative 4 plus 3 would give us what? Almost. Negative x. Because negative 4 plus 3, or 3 minus 4, would give us a negative 1. Now, unfortunately, you can't plug in negative 4x plus 3x in the calculator because the calculator needs a value for x. But we can always check it with negative 4 plus 3. Questions on this here? All right, let's look at another one. We're going to be looking at this one here. X plus 8 times x plus 2. And again, when we look at this here, I always start off with the first term in the first binomial and multiply out. So the first thing we have is x times x. And x times x is going to give us what? X squared. because our x times x will give us x squared. Now the next one we can do is x times 2. Well, since they're both positive, it's going to be plus x times 2 is 2x. Well, then we can move on to the next one. 8 times x and 8 times 2. Well, 8 times x would be plus what? 8x. And the last one, positive 8 times positive 2. Since they're both positive, we'll still have plus 8 times 2 is 16. Now we do have two like terms. And 2x plus 8x, because those are like terms, would give us what? X. X squared plus 10x plus 16. Questions on this here? Have y'all done these before? Something like them? No? Okay. So looking at this one here, what would we multiply through first? Or what would we do first? Well, we would do the x times x, which would give us what? X squared. And then what would we do? X times 1 would be plus x. Because it would be the same as 1x. Because anytime we have multiplication of 1, we don't always write the 1 because it's understood. So we've done that completely out, yes? Now we do the same thing with negative 5. So we do negative 5 times x, which is going to be negative what? Negative 5 times x, or negative 5x. And last but not least, what do we need to do? Negative 5 times, which will be negative 5, yes. Because 1, since it's a negative and a positive, it will be negative. And 5 times 1 is 5. Now we do have two like terms. X minus 5x. It would be 4. 1 minus 5 is 4. Now would it be positive or negative? You're positively positive that it's negative. No, you're good. Not wrong. You're positive that it's negative. I think that's what you were going to say. Yes? So it'd be x squared minus 4x minus 5. Because once we multiply these out, once we do x times x, we'll get x squared. Negative 5 times 1 will be negative 5. Those really don't change once we multiply them out because there are no like terms with it. It's just negative 5 and x squared. Questions on this here? No? Okay. Let's look at this here. Now, they changed it a little bit, yes? Because all the way up till now, we've had x and x. There hasn't been a number with x, yes? But that doesn't change what we do. Because we're still going to multiply this out. Yes. 2x times x will give us 2x squared. Are there questions on how that works? Oh, we're good. And because the numbers in front of x are 2, and then this one here is 1, yes? So 2 times 1 is 2. And x times x gives me x squared. So we're still multiplying them together. It just works out that we get 2, there's a 2 and 1. And x times x gives us x squared. Now we're going to do 2x times 5. Because 2 times 5 gives us plus 10. And we have an x. Now we can go the other direction. Negative 3 times x. Well, negative 3 times 1x would be negative 3x. And lastly, negative 3 times positive 5. Negative times a positive is a. And 3 times 5 is 15. Questions on this here? Now our like terms are 10x and negative 3x. Well, 10 minus 3 is positive 7. So we have 7x minus 15. Any questions on any of this here so far? So again, we're going to keep using the distributive property with these here. So we'll distribute the 2x and multiply it through. Well, 2x times x would be what? Right, because we have 2x times 1x, because 2 times 1 gives me 2. And our x times x will give us x squared. And then we're going to do 2x times negative 3. Since we have a positive and negative, well, a positive times a negative will be a negative. 2 times 3 is 6. And then we have our x, because we don't have x being multiplied by anything else, so it is just x. So we have that done. Now we can do the 3. Well, 3 times x is plus 3x. I think those are quite nice because it's just the number and the variable. And lastly, 3 times negative 3. It would be negative 9. Positive and negative makes a negative, and 3 times 3 is 9. Questions on this here? Okay. Lastly, we need to combine like terms. Negative 6x plus 3x, or negative 6 plus 3, would give us negative 3x minus 9. Any questions on this here? How do we feel about these here? Okay. Feel comfortable with these here? Yeah. Okay.